The Rubáiyát, Omer Khayyam. Wait for the sun who scattered into flight the stars before him from the field of night, drives night along with them from heaven, and strikes the Sultan's turret with a shaft of light. Before the phantom of false morning died, methought a voice within the tavern cried when all the temple is prepared within, why nods the drowsy worshipper outside? And as the cock crew, those who stood before the tavern shouted, open then the door. You know how little while we have to stay, and once departed may return no more. Now the new year reviving old desires, the thoughtful soul to solitude retires, where the white hand of Moses on the bough puts out, and Jesus from the ground suspires. Eram indeed is gone with all his rose, and Jamshid's seven-ringed cup, where no one knows, but still a ruby kindles in the vine, and many a garden by the water blows. And David's lips are locked, but in divine, high-piping Pahlavi with wine, wine, wine. Red wine the nightingale cries to the rose, that sallow cheek of hers turned cornadine. Come, fill the cup, and in the far spring your winter garment of repentance fling. The bird of time has but a little way to flutter, and the bird is on the wing. Whether it Nashupur or Babylon, whether the cup was sweet or bitter run, the wine of life keeps oozing drop by drop. The leaves of life keep falling one by one. Each morn 1,000 roses brings, you say, yes, but where leaves the rose of yesterday? And to this first summer's month that brings the rose shall take Jamshid and Keikubat away. Well, let it take them. What have we to do with Keikubat the Great, or Kei Khosrow? Let Zal and Rustam bluster as they will, or Hatim call to supper, heed not you. With me along the strip of herbage strewn that just divides the desert from the sown, where name of slave and sultan is forgot, and peace to Mahmud on his golden throne. A book of verses underneath the bough, a jug of wine, a loaf of bread, and thou beside me singing in the wilderness. O wilderness, were paradisey now. Some for the glories of this world, and some sigh for the prophet's paradise to come. Ah, take the cash, and let the credit go, nor heed the rumble of a distant drum. Look to the blowing rose about us, lo, laughing she says, and to the world I blow at once the silken tassel of my purse, tear, and his treasure on the garden throw. And to those who husbanded the golden grain, and to those who flung it to the winds like rain, alike to no such aureate earth are turned, as buried once, men want dug up again. The worldly hope men set their hearts upon turns ashes, or it prospers, and anon, like snow upon the desert's dusty face, lighting a little hour or two, is gone. Think in this battered caravanserai, whose portals are alternate, night and day, how Sultan after Sultan with his pomp abode his destined hour, and went his way. They say the lion and the lizard keep the courts where Jamshid gloried and drank deep, and Bahram, that great hunter, the wild ass stamps o'er his head, but cannot break his sleep. I sometimes think that never blows so red the rose as where some buried Caesar bled, that every hyacinth the garden wears dropped in her lap from some once lovely head. And this reviving herb whose tender green fledges the river lip on which we lean. Ah, lean upon it lightly, for who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen. Ah, my beloved, fill the cup that clears today of past regrets and future fears. Tomorrow, why tomorrow I may be myself with yesterday's 7,000 years. For some we loved, the loveliest and the best, that from his vintage rolling time has pressed, have drunk their cup a round or two before, and one by one crept silently to rest. And we that now make merry in the room they left, and the summer dresses in new bloom, ourselves must we beneath the couch of earth descend ourselves to make a couch for whom? Ah, make the most of what we yet may spend before we too into the dust descend, dust into dust, and under dust to lie. Sun's wine, sun's song, sun's singer, and sun's end. Alike for those who for today prepare, and those that after some tomorrow stare. A muezzin from the tower of darkness cries, fools, your reward is neither here nor there. Why, all the saints and sages who discussed of the two worlds so wisely, their thrust like foolish prophets forth, their words to scorn are scattered, and their mouths are stopped with dust. Myself, when young, did eagerly frequent doctor and saint, and heard great argument about it and about, but evermore came out by the same door wherein I went. With them the seed of wisdom did I sow, and with mine own hand wrought to make it grow. And this was all the harvest that I reaped. I came like water, and like wind I go into this universe, and why, not knowing, nor whence, like water willy-nilly flowing, and out of it as wind along the waste, I know not whither willy-nilly blowing. What, without asking, hither hurried whence, and without asking, whither hurried hence? Oh, many a cup of this forbidden wine must drown the memory of that insolence. Up from her center through the seventh gate I rose, and on the throne of Saturn sate, and many a knot unraveled by the road, but not the master knot of human fate. There was a door to which I found no key, there was a veil through which I might not see. Some little talk a while of me and thee there was, and then no more of thee and me. Earth could not answer, nor the seas that mourn in flowing purple of their Lord forlorn, nor rolling heaven with all his signs revealed, and hidden by the sleeve of night and morn. Then of the thee and me who works behind the veil, I lifted up my hands to find a lamp amid the darkness, and I heard it from without, the me within thee, blind. Then to the lip of this poor earthen urn I leaned the secret of my life to learn, and lip to lip it murmured, while you live, drink, for once dead, you never shall return. I think the vessel that with fugitive articulation answered, once did live, and drink, and ah, the passive lip I kissed, how many kisses might it take and give? For I remember stopping by the way to watch a potter thumping his wet clay, and with its all obliterated tongue it murmured, gently, brother, gently, pray. And has not such a story from of old down man's successive generations rolled, of such a cloud of saturated earth cast by the Maker into human mold? And not a drop from our cup we throw, for earth to drink of but may steal below, to quench the fire of anguish in some eye, there hidden, far beneath, and long ago. As then the tulip for her morning sup of heavenly vintage from the soil looks up, do you devoutly do the like, till heaven to earth invert you like an empty cup? Perplex no more with human or divine, tomorrow's tangles to the winds resign, and lose your fingers in the tresses of the cypress slender minister of wine. And if the wine you drink, the lip you press, end in what all begins and ends in, yes, think then you are today what yesterday you were, tomorrow you shall not be less. So when that angel of the darker drink at last shall find you by the river brink, and offering his cup, invite your soul forth to your lips to quaff, you shall not shrink. Why, if the soul can fling the dust aside, and naked on the air of heaven ride, were it not a shame for him in this clay carcass, crippled to abide? 'Tis but a tent where takes his one day's rest, a sultan to the rim of death addressed. The sultan rises, and the dark farash strikes and prepares it for another guest. And fear not, lest existence closing your account and mine should know the like no more. The eternal Sagi from that bowl has poured millions of bubbles like us, and will pour. When you and I behind the veil are past, oh, but the long, long while this world shall last, which of our coming and departure heeds as the sea's self should heed a pebble cast. A moment's halt, a momentary taste of being from the well amid the waste, and lo, the phantom caravan has reached the nothing it set out from. Oh, make haste. Would you that spangle of existence spend about the secret? Quick about it, friend. A hair perhaps divides the false and true, and upon what, prithee, does life depend? A hair perhaps divides the false and true. Yes, and a single leaf with a clue, could you but find it, to the treasure house, and peradventure to the master, too, whose secret presence through creation's veins, running quicksilver-like, eludes your pains, taking all shape from Ma to Mahi, and they change and perish all, but he remains. A moment's guess, then back behind the fold, immersed of darkness round the drama rolled, which for the pastime of eternity he doth himself contrive, enact, behold. But if in vain down on the stubborn floor of earth and up to heaven's unopening door, you gaze today while you are you, how then tomorrow when you shall be you no more? Waste not your hour, nor in the vain pursuit of this and that endeavor and dispute, Better be jocund with the fruitful grape than sadden after none or bitter fruit. You know, my friends, with what a brave carouse I made a second marriage in my house, divorced old barren reason from my bed, and took the daughter of the vine to spouse. For is and is not, though with rule and line, and up and down by logic I define, of all that one should care to fathom, I was never deep in anything but wine. Ah, but my computations, people say, reduce the year to better reckoning? Nay, 'twas only striking from the calendar, unborn tomorrow and dead yesterday. And lately by the tavern door agape came shining through the dusk an angel's shape, bearing a vessel on his shoulder, and he bid me taste of it, and 'twas the grape. The grape that can with logic absolute the 72 jarring sects confute, the sovereign alchemist that in a trice life's leaden metal into gold transmute. The mighty Mahmud, Allah-breathing Lord, that all the misbelieving and black horde of fears and sorrows that infest the soul scatters before him with his whirlwind sword. Why be this juice the growth of God? Who dare blaspheme the twisted tendril as a snare? A blessing, we should use it, should we not? And if a curse, why then, who set it there? I must abjure the balm of life, I must, scared by some after reckoning, ta'e an own trust, or lured with hope of some diviner drink, to fill the cup when crumble into dust. All threats of hell and hopes of paradise, one thing at least is certain, this life flies. One thing is certain, and the rest is lies. The flower that once has bloomed forever dies. Strange, is it not, that of the myriads who before us passed the door of darkness through, not one returns to tell us of the road, which to discover we must travel too. The revelations of devout and learned, who rose before us and as prophets burned, are all but stories which awoke from sleep. They told their comrades, and to sleep returned. I sent my soul through the invisible, some letter of that afterlife to spell, and by my soul returned to me and answered, I myself am heaven and hell. Heaven but the vision of fulfilled desire, and hell the shadow from a soul on fire, cast on the darkness, into which ourselves, so late emerged from, shall so soon expire. We are no other than a moving row of magic shadow shapes that come and go round with the sun-illumined lantern held in midnight by the master of the show. But helpless pieces of the game he plays upon this checkerboard of nights and days, and hither and thither moves and checks and slays, and one by one back in the closet lays. The ball no question makes of eyes and nose, but here or there strikes, the player goes, and he that tossed you down into the field, he knows about it all. He knows. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on, nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. And that inverted bowl they call the sky, where under crawling cup we live and die, lift not your hands to it for help, for it as impotently moves as you or I. With earth's first clay they did the last man knead, and there of the last harvest sowed the seed, and the first morning of creation wrote what the last dawn of reckoning shall read. Yesterday this day's madness did prepare, tomorrow's silence, triumph, or despair. Drink, for you know not whence you came, nor why. Drink, for you know not why you go, nor where. I tell you this, when started from the goal, over the flaming shoulders of the foe, of heaven parwind and mustery they flung, in my predestined plot of dust and soul. The vine had struck a fiber which about it clings my being. Let the dervish flout. Of my base metal may be filed a key that shall unlock the door he howls without. And this I know, whether the one true light kindle to love, or wrath consume me quite. One flash of it within the tavern caught, better than in the temple lost outright. What? Out of senseless nothing to provoke a conscious something, to resent the yoke of unpermitted pleasure, under pain of everlasting penalties, if broke? What, from his helpless creature be repaid, pure gold for what he lent him, dross allayed, sue for a debt he never did contract, and cannot answer? Oh, the sorry trade! O thou who didst with pitfall and with gin beset the road I was to wander in, thou wilt not, with predestined evil round enmesh, and then impute my fall to sin. O thou, who man of baser earth didst make, and even with paradise devised a snake. For all the sins wherewith the face of man is blackened, man forgiveness give and take. As under cover of departing day, slunk hunger-stricken Ramazan away. Once more within the potter's house, alone I stood, surrounded by the shapes of clay. Shapes of all sorts and sizes, great and small, that stood along the floor and by the wall, and some loquacious vessels were, and some listened perhaps, but never talked at all. Said one among them, surely not in vain, my substance from the common earth was ta'en, and from this figure molded to be broke, or trampled back to shapeless earth again. Then said a second, nary peevish boy would break the bowl from which he drank in joy, and he that with his hand the vessel made will surely not in after-wrath destroy. After a momentary silence spake some vessel of a more ungainly make. They sneer at me for leaning all awry. What, did the hand then of the potter shake? Whereat someone of the loquacious lot, I think his souffle picked him waxing hot. All this of pot and potter, tell me then, who is the potter, pray? And who the pot? Why, said another, some there are who tell of one who threatens he will toss to hell. The luckless pot, he marred in making. Psh, he's a good fellow, and 'twill all be well. Well, murmured one, let whoso make or buy. My clay with long oblivion is gone dry, but fill me with the old familiar juice. Methinks I might recover by and by. So while the vessels one by one were speaking, the little moon looked in that all were seeking, and then they jogged each other. Brother, brother, now for the porter's shoulder not a creaking. Ah, with the grape my fading life provide, and wash the body whence the life has died, and lay me shrouded in the living leaf by some not unfrequented garden's side. That even my buried ashes such a snare of vintage shall fling up into the air, is not a true believer passing by, but shall be overtaken unaware. Indeed, the idols I have loved so long have done my credit in this world much wrong, have drowned my glory in a shallow cup, and sold my reputation for a song. Indeed, indeed, repentance oft before I swore, but was I sober when I swore? And then came spring, and rose in hand, my threadbare penitence a pieces tore. And much as wine has played the infidel, and robbed me of my robe of honor, well, I wonder often what the vintners buy, one half so precious as the stuff they sell. Yet that spring should vanish with the rose, that you sweet-scented manuscript should close, the nightingale that in the branches sang, whence and whither flown again, who knows? Would but the desert of the fountain yield one glimpse, if dimly yet indeed revealed, to which the fainting traveler might spring, as springs the trampled herbage from the field. Would but some winged angel, ere too late, arrest the yet unfolded roll of fate, and make the stern recorder otherwise in register, or else quite obliterate. Ah, love, could you and I with him conspire to grasp this sorry scheme of things entire, would we not shatter it to bits and then remold it nearer to the heart's desire? Yon rising moon that looks for us again, how oft hereafter will she wax and wane? How oft hereafter rising look for us through this same garden, and for one in vain? And when like her, O Saki, you shall pass among the guests, stars scattered in the grass, and in your joyous errand reach the spot where I made one, turn down an empty glass. Out there somewhere, Henry Nibbs. As I was hiking past the woods, past the cool and sleepy summer woods, I saw a guy a-talking to the sunshine in the air. Thinks I, he's going to have a fit. I'll stick around and watch a bit. But he paid no attention, hardly knowing I was there. He must have been a college guy, for he was talking big and high. The trees were standing all around, as silent as a church. Coming closer, I could see he was manufacturing poetry, just like a mocker sitting on a pussy willow perch. Squatting down, I rolled a smoke and listened to each word he spoke. He never stumbled, reared, or broke. He never missed a word. And though he was a beau, like me, he had been a gent once, I could see. I ain't much strong on poetry, but this is what I heard. We'll dance a merry saraband from here to drowsy Samarkand. Along the sea, across the land, the birds are flying south. And you, my sweet Penelope, out there somewhere, you wait for me, with buds of roses in your hair, and kisses on your mouth. The mountains are all hid in mist, the valley is like amethyst. The poplar leaves, they turn and twist, oh, silver, silver green. Out there somewhere along the sea, a ship is waiting patiently, while up the beach the bubbles slip, with white afloat between. The tide hounds race far up to shore. The hunt is on, the breakers roar. Her spars are tipped with gold, and o'er her deck the spray is flung. The buoys that rollick in the bay, they nod the way, they nod the way. The hunt is up, I am the prey. The hunter's bow is strung. Out there somewhere, says I to me, by gosh, I guess that's poetry. Out there somewhere Penelope, with kisses on her mouth. And then thinks I, oh college guy, your talk it gets me in the eye. The north is creeping in the air, the birds are flying south. And yet the sun was shining down, a-blazing on the little town, a mile or so way down the track, a-dancing in the sun. But somehow as I waited there, I felt a shiver in the air. The birds are flying south, says he, the winter has begun. Says I, then let's be on the float. You certainly have got my goat. You make me hungry in my throat for seeing things that's new. Out there somewhere we'll ride the range, a-looking for the new and strange. My feet are tired and need a change. Come on, it's up to you. There ain't no sweet Penelope somewhere that's longing much for me, but I can smell the blundering sea and hear the rigging hum. And I can hear the whispering lips that fly before the outbound ships, and I can hear the breakers on the sand a-booming, come. And then that slim poetic guy, he turned and looked me in the eye. It's overland, and overseas to where? Most anywhere that isn't here, I says. His face went kind of queer. The place we're in is always here, the other place is there. He smiled, though, as my eye caught his. Then what a lot of there is, to go and see, and go and see, and go and see some more. He did a fancy step or two, then said, I think I'll go with you. 2 moons, and we were baking in the straits at Singapore. Around the world and back again, we saw it all, the mist and rain, in England and the dry old plain, from Needles to Bordeaux. We kept a-rambling all the time. I rustled grub, he rustled rhyme. Blind baggage, hoof it, ride or climb, we always put it through. Just for a con, I'd like to know. Yes, he crossed over long ago, and he was right. Believe me, Beau, if somewhere in the south, down where the clouds lie on the sea, he found his sweet Penelope, with buds of roses in her hair and kisses on her mouth. The face on the ballroom floor, Antoine Dorsey. 'Twas a balmy summer evening, and a goodly crowd was there, which well nigh filled Joe's barroom on the corner of the square. And as songs and witty stories came through the open door, a vagabond crept slowly in and posed upon the floor. Where did it come from? Someone said, the wind has blown it in. What does it want? Another cried. Some whiskey, rum, or gin? Here, Toby, seek him, if your stomach's equal to the work. I wouldn't touch him with a fork. He's as filthy as a Turk. This badinage the poor wretch took with stoical good grace. In fact, he smiled, as though he thought he'd struck the proper place. Come, boys, I know there's kindly hearts among so good a crowd. To be in such good company would make a deacon proud. Give me a drink. I'm out of funds, you know. When I had cash to treat the gang, this hand was never slow. What? You laugh, as though you thought this pocket never held a sou. I was once fixed as well, my boys, as any one of you. There, thanks. That's braced me nicely. God bless you one and all. Next time I pass this good saloon, I'll make another call. Give you a song? No, I can't do that. My singing days are past. My voice is cracked, my throat's worn out, and my lungs are going fast. Say, give me another whiskey, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll tell you a funny story, and a fact I promise too, that I ever was a decent man. Not one of you would think, but I was some 4 or 5 years back. Say, give me another drink. Fill her up, Joe. I want to put some life into my frame. Such little drinks to a bum like me are miserably tame. 5 fingers there, that's the scheme, and corking whiskey too. Well, here's luck, boys, and landlord, my best regards to you. You've treated me pretty kindly, and I'd like to tell you how I came to be the dirty sot you see before you now. As I told you, once I was a man, with muscle, frame, and health, and but for a blunder, ought to have made considerable wealth. I was a painter, not one that daubs on bricks and wood, but an artist, and for my age was rated pretty good. I worked hard at my canvas, and was bidding fair to rise, for gradually I saw the star of fame before my eyes. I made a picture, perhaps you've seen, 'tis called The Chase of Fame. It brought me 1,500 pounds, and added to my name. And then I met a woman. Now comes the funny part. With eyes that petrified my brain and sunk into my heart. Why don't you laugh? 'Tis funny that the vagabond you see could ever love a woman and expect her love for me. But 'twas so, and for a month or two her smiles were freely given. And when her loving lips touched mine, it carried me to heaven. Did you ever see a woman for whom your soul you give, with a form like the Milo Venus, too beautiful to live, with eyes that would beat the Koh-i-Noor, and a wealth of chestnut hair? If so, 'twas she, for there never was another half so fair. I was working on a portrait one afternoon in May of a fair-haired boy, a friend of mine, who lived across the way. And Madeline admired it, and much to my surprise, said she'd like to know the man that had such dreamy eyes. It didn't take long to know him, and before the month had flown, my friend had stolen my darling, and I was left alone. And ere a year of misery had passed above my head, the jewel I had treasured so had tarnished and was dead. That's why I took to drink, boys, why I never saw you smile. I thought you'd be amused and laughing all the while. Why, what's the matter, friend? There's a teardrop in your eye. Come, laugh like me. 'Tis only babes and women that should try. Say, boys, if you give me just another whiskey, I'll be glad. And I'll draw right here a picture of the face that drove me mad. Give me that piece of chalk with which you mark the baseball score. You shall see the lovely Madeline upon the barroom floor. Another drink, and with chalk in hand, the vagabond began to sketch a face that well might buy the soul of any man. Then as he placed another lock upon the shapely head, with a fearful shriek he leaped and fell across the picture, dead. A poet ponders, Homer DeVos. Upon many things I ponder, as through this life I wonder, things that to most my fellow man seem strange. Some think I'm taking them to task, when I'm one of them, to ask, why do not we our selfish thoughts unmask, and our outlook toward each other in a different way arrange? O'er all this world I've sought, true Christians have found naught, have found that most man can be bought. Seems it's long past time we should effect a change. My simple thoughts, so oft you know, are of the man who 2,000 years ago gave up his heart, his blood and life, that all might live. Yet today we live in sin, say we're only human, to explain the shape we're in, and that if we at any time repent, the Master will forgive. live in chaos and confusion, show no intent to seek diffusion, and call ourselves the very highest type of race. Now I wonder as I ponder, what will happen way out yonder, when we meet the Master, face to face? When we reach that judgment bar, will he not know just what we are? And whatever will we say to him? One thing you may be sure when we face that presence pure, the life on earth we did endure will determine if our fate be wondrous bright or grim. Why we must with each other be suspicious, so childishly facetious, is something that I cannot understand. Why can't we live among ourselves as brother, demonstrate love for one another? Why must selfishness and greed be such a part of man? Christians we profess to be, claim to worship such as he, yet it's plain for all to see, we're not living by his plan. A prayer in my heart and mind, as toward this wonder I'm inclined, is that someday in the future we might find his way to live among ourselves and understand. Shooting of Dan McGrew, Robert's Service. A bunch of the boys were hooping it up in the Malamute Saloon. The kid that handled the music box was hitting a jag-time tune. Back of the bar in his solo game sat dangerous Dan McGrew, and watching his luck was his light o' love, the lady that's known as Lou. When out of the night, which was 50 below, and into the din and the glare, there stumbled a miner fresh from the creek, dog dirty and loaded for bear. He looked like a man with a foot in the grave, and scarcely the strength of a louse. Yet he tilted a poke of dust on the bar, and he called for drinks for the house. There was none could place the stranger's face, though we searched ourselves for a clue. But we drank his health, and the last to drink was dangerous Dan McGrew. There's men that somehow just grip your eyes and hold them hard like a spell, and such was he, and he looked to me like a man who had lived in hell, with a face most hair and the dreary stare of a dog whose day is done, as he watered the green stuff in his glass, and the drops fell one by one. Then I got to figuring who he was, and wondering what he'd do, and I turned my head, and there watching him was a lady that's known as Lou. His eyes went rubbing around the room. He seemed in a kind of daze, till at last that old piano fell in the way of his wandering gaze. The ragtime kid was having a drink. There was no one else on the stool, so the stranger stumbled across the room and flopped down there like a fool. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat and I saw him sway. Then he clutched the keys with his talon hands. My God, but that man could play. Were you ever out in the great alone, when the moon was awful clear, and the icy mountains hemmed you in with a silence you most could hear, with only the howl of a timber wolf, and you camped there in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for the muck called gold? While high overhead, green, yellow, and red, the north lights swept in bars, then you've a hunch what the music meant, hunger and night and the stars, and hunger not of the belly kind that's banished with bacon and beans, but the gnawing hunger of lonely men for a home and all that it means, for a fireside far from the cares that are, four walls and a roof above, but oh so crammed full of cozy joy, and crowned with a woman's love, a woman that's dearer than all the world, and true as heaven is true. God, how ghastly she looked through her rouge, the lady that's known as Lou. Then only sudden the music changed, so soft you scarce could hear, but you felt that your life had been looted clean of all that it once held dear, that someone had stolen the woman you loved, that her love was a devil's lie, that your guts were gone and the best for you was to crawl away and die. 'Twas a crowning cry of a heart's despair, and it thrilled you through and through. I guess I'll make it as spread misere, said dangerous Dan McGrew. The music almost died away, then it burst like a pent-up flood, and it seemed to say, repay, repay, and my eyes were blind with blood. The thought came back of an ancient wrong, and it stung like a frozen lash. and the lust awoke to kill, to kill. Then the music stopped with a crash. And the stranger turned, and his eyes, they burned in a most peculiar way. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat, and I saw him sway. Then his lips went in a kind of grin, and he spoke, and his voice was calm. And boys, said he, you don't know me, and none of you care a damn. But I want to state, and my words are straight, and I'll bet my poke they're true, that one of you is a hound of hell, and that one is Dan McGrew. Then I ducked my head, and the lights went out, and 2 guns blazed in the dark, and a woman screamed, and the lights went up. 2 men lay stiff and stark. There on his head, and pumped full of lead, lay dangerous Dan McGrew, while the man from the creeks lay clutched to the breast of the lady that's known as Lou. These are the simple facts of the case, and I guess I ought to know. They're saying the stranger was crazed with hooch, and I'm not denying it's so. I'm not so wise as the lawyer guys, but strictly between us two. The woman that kissed him and pinched his poke was the lady that's known as Lou. Empty's coming back, Angelo de Pontiano. Have you ever sat by the railroad track and watched the empties coming back, lumbering along with a groan and a whine, smoke strung out in a long gray line, belched from the engine's panting stack? Well, I have, and to me the empties seem like dreams I sometimes dream, of a girl, or money, or perhaps fame. My dreams have all returned the same, swinging along that homebound track, just empties coming back. Do it now, Burton Braley. When with pleasure you're reviewing any work a man is doing, if you like him or you love him, tell him now. Don't withhold your approbation till the parson makes oration, and he lies with snowy lilies on his brow. For no matter how you shout it, he won't really care about it. He won't know how many teardrops you have shed. If you think some praise is due him, now's the time to slip it to him, for he cannot read his tombstone when he's dead. More than fame and more than money is the comment kind and sunny, and the hearty warm approval of a friend, for it gives to life a savor, and it makes you stronger, braver, and it gives you heart and spirit to the end. If you have some praise, bestow it. If you like him, let him know it. Let the words of true encouragement be said. Do not wait till life is over, and he's underneath the clover, for he cannot read his tombstone when he's dead. My prayer, Homer DeVos. I beg of thee, O Lord of mine, lead me to a goal. I cry this from my heart, O Lord, I beg it for my soul. For I am in torment, Lord of mine, and I know not what to do. No longer can I bear these wounds, I must have help from you. Sometimes your ways seem strange, O Lord, to the simple mind of man. When that is true, we must pray, dear Lord, that you will help us understand. I had a goal in sight, you know, but it has passed from view, and in such a way, my Lord, that I must cry out to you. Lord, I've never been too far away from you at any time, and you know I've always talked with you of what was in my heart and mind. So help me understand, dear Lord, just why this had to be, and make me not reflect, I pray, on what fools we mortals be. You know that I am heavy laden, Lord, and from pain must have surcease. Please show me what to do, great Lord, that you may give me blessed ease. Now just to beg for alms, O Lord, is not all I wish to do. For these many friends you've blessed me with, I offer humble thanks to you. Lord, I pray thee, bless all mankind, no matter what his creed or color. Help us all to better understand, and teach us to love each other. Show us all the proper way, dear Lord, that we may come to you, and in such a manner, Lord, it will be what we want to do.